Hi, it's Cheryl from Me, You and Yarn. Today I'm going to show you how to do the garter left lifted increase, the garter right lifted increase, the left lifted increase and the right lifted increase. There'll be timestamps if you just need to know how to do one of the increases. I'll start with the garter left increase. For the garter left lifted increase, or just garter left increase, we're going to be working into the bumps below the stitches on our needle. And we need to be on the left side of the stitch. So I'll work a few stitches in. This is the stitch I want to do the lift with. We look for the bump that's below it, and it will be in the row below. Pick it up with the tip of our left needle, pop it onto the left needle and knit as usual. I'll just knit a couple of stitches to move away from that one. So we're looking at the bump below this last stitch on the right needle. Pick it up with the tip of our left needle and knit it. I'll do that a couple of more times. You can always slow the video down or rewind. So this is the stitch I want to increase. Pick up the bump with the tip of the left needle and knit as usual. Again, sometimes if you hold the needles apart, it's difficult to see this bump, especially if it's surrounded by stockinette fabric or a patterned fabric. So I like to hold my right needle more parallel to the ground, and it's easy then to see the bump that we need. Pick it up with my left needle and knit. So that's the garter left increase. The next stitch I'll demonstrate is the garter right lifted increase, and this time we'll be working on the right side of a stitch. So for the garter right increase, we work from the first stitch on the left hand needle and we go into this bump that's directly underneath the stitch. It's touching the needle. We just lift that up with the tip of our right needle and pop it straight onto the left needle. Don't twist it, don't do anything. Leave your needle there so you can see that the two needles are crossed with the left needle in front, and we just knit through the back loop and then knit the stitch next to it. And that's the garter right increase. We'll do that again. So we look for the bump that's directly under the stitch we want to increase from. Pick it up with the tip of our right needle, put it onto the left needle so that the left needle's in front. Yarn around the needle and we knit through the back loop. the bump with the right needle, straight onto the left needle and knit through the back loop. And do it one last time. So I want to increase from this stitch. I'm on the right hand side of that stitch. I pick up the bump with the tip of my right needle, straight onto my left needle, left in front, yarn over, and we knit through the back of that loop and knit the next stitch. And that's all there is to the garter right lifted increase. I'll now demonstrate how to do the right lifted increase. We need stockinette fabric for this one, and what we will be doing is working into the right side of a stitch in the stitch below. So we'll be looking for the right leg. I'll bring it up closer so you can see the two legs more clearly. So you can see the V's of our stockinette stitch. We want, if I separate them a bit, we want the right leg of the one that's underneath the stitch we're going to be increasing from. So this leg right here. And I'll knit across to the first stitch that I want to increase in. So say I want to increase into this next stitch here. I want the right leg of the stitch below. So what I do is I put the tip of my right needle under that leg and lift it onto the left hand needle and knit it as we usually do. And then knit the next stitch as well. I'll show that again. So I want the right leg, which is just here. Lift it with the tip of my right needle onto the left hand needle and knit through the front of the loop. So knit as we usually do. So try and come close with that. So I want to increase. I lift the right leg with the tip of my right needle, pop it onto the left needle and knit. And that's all there is to the right lifted increase. Okay, so now I'll show how to do the left lifted increase. Of the four, this is the last one, and it's also the easiest one to be confused by. It's not difficult, but it requires a little more thought and patience. So I'll start with a diagram. It's never good when there's a diagram involved, hey? So here's my very poor attempt at columns of stitches. They're not joined, only because it would be too confusing, I think. So with the right lifted increase, we were working on the right hand side of the stitch below. So we would be working on, I'll do it in black because I want the red ones there for the left ones. So we were working on these stitches, this side of the stitch, the right leg. So that was the right leg. So we would work to the stitch on the needle, we would pick up the right leg and knit that as normal. For the left lifted increase, we want to lift the left leg of the stitch that's below the current one on our needle. To get to that stitch, this side of the stitch, we have to knit this stitch. So we'll have another stitch here. And so you can see that now that we're on this side of the stitch, it's dropped down. So we have another left leg between the stitch on the needle and the one that we want to lift. And that will be the same for each one. So I'll lift this one, knit along. I need to do another increase, so I have to knit the stitch to get to this side of the stitch, and that means that the leg that we want has dropped down. So here it is before we knit it. It's the left leg of the stitch below the one on the needle. We come across, we knit the stitch, and that means the one we want has now dropped down. Let's see what this looks like with real stitches. So I've taken my swatch and I have put the stitch markers into the left leg of the stitch below the one I want to increase in. So that's that stitch's left leg. This one belongs to that stitch. This one belongs to that stitch. And this one belongs to that stitch. Alright, so what happens when we want to actually work the increases? We need to knit along over to them. So I'm at the stitch that I want to increase with, and you can see that I need that leg there, but I'm on this side of the stitch. So to solve that part of the problem, we knit this stitch. And now you can see the one that we want has dropped down. So we've got this one from the stitch that was on the needle, so like this one. Then we knit it, so it dropped down, and our stitch that we want dropped down as well. That's okay. We just pick up this stitch with the tip of our left needle, and knit it through the back loop. And that's a left lifted increase. I'll take that out now. So I'll show that again. Knit across to the stitch that we want to increase in. We need the left leg. So this is the right leg of that stitch, and if we were doing a right lifted increase, we would just put that up on the needle, but we want the left one. So we actually have to knit this stitch, and then you can see that it's the second left leg below the stitch on the right needle that we need to pick up with the tip of our left needle and knit through the back loop. I'm going to do this one without a stitch marker in it. I need to be on the left side of this needle of this stitch, so I knit it. And from what we know now, it's not this first leg that I need to pick up, it's this second leg. And one thing that I've found is usually this first one underneath the stitch on the right hand needle is a bit more elongated, and that's my cue that I need to pick up the one underneath it. Not always, but usually. Let's try that once again. So I do the increase, I need this leg. So see how this one's a bit more elongated. I don't want that first left leg down, I want the second one. And that's all there is to the left leaning, a left lifted increase. And final time. See how that one is elongated. If I put the needle straight, it's not so bad, but usually it's like this. Lift the second leg down onto the needle, knit it through the back loop. So there you have it, the 4 increases. The first one we did was the garter left increase, followed by the garter right increase, the right lifted increase, and finally the left lifted increase. So I wanted to come back on to show you how to fix a mistake with the left lifted increase if you do happen to pick up the first left leg from the needle rather than the second left leg. I've got a different swatch here, and I've got stitch markers on the left legs that I want to pick up from, they're all one down from the stitch that's on the needle at the moment. The yellow ones I will pick up incorrectly, and the blue one I will pick up correctly. And then we'll see what it looks like from the front if you do make a mistake, and what happens on the return row when you get to those mistakes. The other 3 increases mentioned earlier in the video, it's not going to make much difference if you do pick up the wrong bump or the wrong leg, and they don't need to be corrected. If you're careful and don't do them very often, no one will notice. Unfortunately, this one you will notice. I'm going to knit across to that first marker. The marker is in the second leg down. That's the first one there. This is the second one. And I'm going to purposefully pick up the first one and knit it through the back loop. I'll knit to the next stitch that I want to increase from. There we go. And this is the first leg down. The blue marker is in the second leg down. I shall pick that up and knit it through the back loop, and then knit to the final stitch marker. Again, there's the second one down, that's the one I want. I'm going to purposefully pick up the first one and knit it through the back loop. And finish out the row. So if we look at the row, spread out our stitches, you can see that where I made the mistakes on above the yellow markers, the 2 stitches are very close together. Whereas here at the blue marker, the stitches are just a normal space apart. Generally, unless it's a small swatch like this, you're not going to notice because your stitches usually are quite snugged up against each other on the needles, and you're not going to notice that 2 are slightly closer together. The other thing that you can see is that the blue marker is slightly higher than the yellow markers now that we've worked them. So before we worked the stitches, they were all at the same level, but now the blue marker has moved up. And that's because when we lifted the correct leg up to the needle, it brought the stitch marker up with it a bit. But again, we're not going to have stitch markers in every stitch that we want to increase with, and so you're not going to notice. So we'll turn the work and work our return row and see what happens. So my first 2 stitches here are knit, and then purl for the rest till the last 2 stitches. So I'm pretending that I didn't know I made a mistake. If I wasn't, I could see we've got these 2 stitches close together, and that to me indicates that's where we made the mistake. But I don't know that, so I purled that stitch, and now I've got this huge yarn over where I should have a stitch. So this indicates to me that I made a mistake on the front row, and what I do is I just undo the purl that I just did, turn to the front of the work, and you can see basically what happens is the incorrect yarn, picking up the incorrect leg and knitting it just undoes the stitch. And so you can see here's the yellow marker, it's still 2 down. Now how do we fix that? Every knitter needs a crochet hook at least, and they know how to use them. They're handy for picking up stitches. So my needles are 5.5 millimetre. I've got a 5 millimetre crochet hook. I could have gone with a 5.5, but I find just 0.5 millimetre even difference is handy. So what we do, we've got this big long stitch up here. Don't worry about that at the moment. Just come through, pick up the correct leg, and then you see this strand that goes between this stitch and this side. We pull it up, and that tightens the stitch here, but also gives us something we can create the correct increase stitch. I'll just pop it back onto the right needle, turn my work, and now I have 2 fully formed stitches. I can just purl those. There'll probably be still a little bit of slack here that will be picked up by the next stitch, but it won't be too bad. So I can see the blue marker poking through here, so I know that these stitches are correct. And if we look, we can see we've got 2 fully formed stitches. They've got the bumps around them. So I know I did that one correctly. And I can see they're close together. I knit the first part. See what happens when I do that. It undoes. So it's like a large yarn over. We correct it the same way. We undo what we just did there. Turn our work with our crochet hook. Pick up the correct leg, go under the bar that it's above it, and draw it up. You can pop it onto the right needle because we need to work it. Turn our work. We've got 2 fully formed stitches there. let's see what happened. So you can see where the stitch markers are. They're all the same level again now. I'm going to take one out because I noticed that there was a little bit of a hole there, but I think that's just from where I picked up, where I put the stitch marker. So yeah, it's no more visible than for the blue one. It was just being stretched out by the stitch marker. There we go. So that's the one that we corrected, and that's the one that was done properly in the first place. So that's how you fix an incorrectly lifted leg for the left lifted increase. It's almost a tongue twister. I hope you found that helpful. I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.